Hi everyone, today let's talk about PPI. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So PPI pricing actually came in lower than expected, which is interesting considering CPI came in so hot. And the last couple times that CPI came in hot, PPI came in hot with it. And then we got PPI today and it was actually lower than expectations. You can see 0.2 versus the 0.3 estimate. However, the year over year number was still 2.1%, which is still in line with that 2% goal. So that is still okay. That is the highest that we've seen since April of 2023. But like I said, right around that 2% level is fine. And then you can see here core PPI also coming in at 0.2%, so that's good. We got core and headline in line with each other, which is interesting, especially considering the high prices that we're seeing on energy right now. They mentioned goods prices decreased by 0.1, which is quite good considering that we saw a really strong increase in February of 1.2. And then again, you can see energy, like I just mentioned, been one of the hottest sectors here recently. And we saw that go down as well by 1.6%. So overall, a very good reading. And then they also mentioned here, initial jobless claims also fell to 211,000, which was an 11,000 decline from the previous read. So everything today said good economy, and that's why the markets went up, in my opinion. Moving over to fear and greed, you can see we stepped back up to a 59 from 54 yesterday, and you can see that timeline getting a bit of a bounce. Still a downtrend on this indicator, but a bit of a bounce, and you can see still in greed here on momentum, still in greed here on strength and breadth. Put call ratio continues to rise a little bit, which is interesting in fear there. We did see volatility dip down here on the rally that we saw today, and then safe haven demand back into neutral, and still no changes here on junk bond demand. So looks like we're swinging back towards the bull side overall. Moving over to seasonality, we did not get the dip here today that we thought we would based on seasonality. Still looks bearish into tomorrow's session, and then that's supposed to be the bottom for markets. If we don't see any kind of dipping, maybe we see some dips next week and then we get the rally that we're expecting. Or maybe we're already done for the month and this is the rally already. Definitely continuing to watch this chart, potentially looking at some more weakness tomorrow. Moving over to the earnings calendar, we did get a little bit of earnings. Delta Airlines beating on the top and bottom. They did well. And then tomorrow here we do start the actual earnings season with the big banks on the 12th. JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, Citigroup, and State Street all coming out tomorrow, all pre-market. Moving over to Max Payne, lots of adjustments here. Max Payne moved down to 516, stock price back up to 518. Call wall still here at 520, so probably not going to finish higher than that. Gives you about 2 points of potential upside. Midpoint here, right where we are, 517 to 518. Put wall at 510 and 508. Biggest put wall down at 505, so makes sense. We're going to kind of finish in this range in my opinion. Total options not a ton, 1.2, put call ratio 1.75, so seems like a middle of the road finish here for tomorrow. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps, you can see that bottoming formation right at the trend, touched it pre-market, got the PPI report, rallied right back up to the 200. Still looks like a short-term downtrend, and that we're right back to that 21 EMA. So still absolutely could be a retest of this zone, and if we see massive selling tomorrow, you'll know that this structure is about to break. But right now, it looked super bullish into the close, hit a little bit of resistance, slight selling at the end of the day, but nothing crazy. Still looks good going into tomorrow's session, gap up and rally. But like I said, 200 SMA here on the hourly chart, 519.33, and then you have key support here at 517.22. And then moving over here to the Tasty charts just for a moment, you can see that daily ATR stop 511.52, so that is still intact. We got close to that level, have the 34 EMA there as well at 513.02. Need that zone to hold, and so far it has. We're right at that 8 EMA, we're just above it, 517.75, so we closed above that, which looks good. Momentum on the volume weighted MACD still not great. And then on the 4-hour chart, we still have bearish conditions here. ATR stop at 522.10, which would be your upper limit if we did get another move tomorrow. And like I said, I still think we're going to finish probably below that 520 level. Moving over to the NASDAQ actually looks stronger here on the daily chart, which is interesting. It hasn't been doing as well, but we got a little bit of outperformance here today, up 1.6%. And look at those candles stacked on top of each other, pretty much straight up on the hourly chart. Closed almost right at the top. 4 446.66 is your resistance. We didn't quite get there. You can see that's an important level on the daily chart. If it breaks above that and holds, could be off to the races. There's really nothing up here. That would be price discovery for the NASDAQ. And momentum actually looks like we could get more continuation on the daily chart. Looks very strong. We did get that step down on CPI and then a strong step higher here on PPI. And now this looks really good. RSI crossing above the SMA here. You can see it break above, need it to hold. We've seen a couple of these, and then once it breaks back down, that's not good. But right now we're above it. Looks good going into tomorrow's session. And so far I am bullish on that. And it's really holding up quite well after hours also. Moving over to the Tasty charts, you can see that ATR stop is all the way down at 374.82. So way lower. Didn't get anywhere near testing it like the SPY did. And we're back above all the EMAs and SMAs on the daily chart. Looks very good going into tomorrow's session. But the big note here is actually the 4-hour chart. You can see we got the bullish reversal of conditions. We got the ATR stop on that first candle down at 434. And now we're back here up to 435.57 or so. 435.75, and we are back into bullish conditions. Upper ATR level would be 448.80, and that would be wicking the all-time highs right back here from March 21st. So seems like we're set to go a little bit higher. You can also see the ATR bands curving higher. It looks strong going into tomorrow's session. So the Russell and the Dow here found a little bit of a bounce. We got back above 102.88, and that looks strong. We're back above the 55 EMA there as well, 102.83. Critical hold. It needs to hold that down a little bit after hours, but still pretty decently above that level. Need it to hold that level in tomorrow's session if this is going to push up to that 204 area. Looks good to that zone right now. Needs to hold it, like I said. So right now looks okay. And then looking at the 4-hour chart, it does look a little bit more concerning here. You can see that dip low below all the EMAs and SMAs, touch the level, 198.75, important level, and we're right back to the 200. And if we reject from there, that's not going to be good, 202.38, which could be a bearish reversal of conditions. So right now, 201.88 needs to hold, and if we can push to 204, we should be in good shape. If the structure breaks down and then 198 breaks down, then we're in trouble. And then moving over to the Dow here just for a moment, really just barely positive, 0.01% after touching the level 382.20. Pretty important level there. You can see we haven't been there in a while. Touched that level almost to the penny and bounced right back into the middle of the range. This still looks not great, but you have two big tails at a critical zone. Could be a little bit of an indicator for maybe a lower high or a double top or something like that. But it does look okay at that level of support. Moving over to the equal weighted S&Ps, I also wanted to highlight this looks quite bad as well. You can see that dip in the pre-market. That was a lower low. Rallied up, tried to get above 164.87. This is the 4-hour chart. Couldn't do it, so we're still below all the short-term EMAs and SMAs. Did manage to get back above the 144 at 164.43, but this does not look great. Let's look at it on the daily chart. Again, not too much different from yesterday, but you can see that lower low wick, momentum and RSI bearish. Does seem like it could be pushing to that 55 EMA, which is sitting down at 162.78. Moving over to the Mag 7, got a colossal run on the Mag 7, 2.41%, momentum rolling to bullish, RSI breaking out here, right back to that level, 367.10, didn't quite get there, but it seems like we're headed there. If this breaks higher, this could absolutely go a lot higher. Let's go ahead and start to extend out these trend lines. Trend resistance would be up around 374.20, which would be a substantial move. That would be a couple of percentage points higher from current levels, so this could absolutely push back up to that level, and if we did, they're going to take markets with them. Moving over to market movers for today, you got Nike and Delta Airlines. Nike up 3.37% coming off a critical support, $89.32. You can see this is the bottom back here from September of 23. Rallied all the way up to 123 here in December of 23. And then we've round tripped that move back to April of 24. Now you have a clear double bottom coming in, finding some support off of that level. Could be an interesting trend change if it happens. Super interesting support there at $89, and we're getting a nice bounce. 21 EMA at 94.43, so you could look for at least another $2 of potential upside before we hit resistance. And then you can see this downtrend line right in this zone. That needs to break as well. 97.75 is the next level. And then you can see Delta Airlines, not quite the same thesis, almost the inverse actually. You can see a top here in July of 23, round trip that move all the way down to the lows in November, down to around $30, and now it's rallied back up to 47. So big move on Delta Airlines. They had good earnings, we just talked about it. Massive volume on yesterday's candle, and then it was up 3% here today, looking to push back up to that 49.14 level right at the next trend resistance. Moving over to Apple and Tesla, look at this move here on Apple. What a bananas move. This should have been on market movers, but I knew we were going to cover it later. 4.33%, absolutely colossal change in direction on the PPI data. Super strong, broke these downtrend lines. Next level 176.15, highly traded zone just above that 177.50. And then you got the 55 EMA up at 178.59. But at this point, you would expect sells to be starting to get bought up. 21 EMA, which would be the support I would be looking at 171.53. And then looking at this on the 4-hour chart, similar thesis, you can see these longer term downtrend lines still going to hit those. Waiting to see it get back above the 200 at 177.16, so still an important zone. But look at that move, absolutely colossal, massive volume. Someone big is buying Apple stock, and that could absolutely drive this higher. And then moving back over to Tesla, still a strong candle here, but not nearly as strong. 1.65% on the candle, still in the same zone, looking at 177.70 as resistance, trading in actually a very similar range here between Tesla and Apple. And then you got the 55 EMA up there at 183. Still a low, higher low setup off of that wick. 21 EMA still holding 171.83. Moving over to Amazon and NVDA, you can see these very strong candles on both of these here today. Amazon making a new all-time high on this move, 167, above that 188.61 level. Trend resistance all the way up around 197, 198. Momentum, super bullish. RSI, super bullish. Amazon has been on a colossal run, and it seems like it's accelerating here again. And then you got NVIDIA. Obviously, it's been on a run. It slid for a couple of days, really, 2 weeks almost. And now you can see strong candle yesterday, strong candle here today, and it looks like it's set to break back up to that 196 area, as long as that 909 level breaks. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, staples selling on the day, 0.24, and discretionaries rallying, 0.18. So looks like we're seeing a little bit of a rotation into growth and a little bit of rotation into risk on. You can see we're still right at the level, 180.10. Couldn't get above it, tested it again, closed below it. After hours, still right at that level. Momentum, however, does look like it's rolling to bullish, a little bit more like the NASDAQ, whereas staples here still holding the level, but looks more like it's going to break down. Moving over to transports and gold, you can see transports actually had been weakening for a while, and we've talked about this a little bit. Did look like a double top and had been selling with everything else. And then you can see on that candle with CPI, you had a ton of volume coming in, sold off well below the low, well below the level at 67.85. But then here today, 1.8% right to that 55 EMA, rolling to the bull side on momentum, giving this a little bit of hope. Still could absolutely just establish a lower high and then sell. But this looks a little bit better here now on transports. And then looking at gold, pretty much continued the move right off of the trend line, 1.94%. Still massive volume, still bullish momentum, looks very strong. This is all-time highs here for gold, and it looks like it's going higher. Moving over to breadth. Interestingly, these were not bullish candles here on breadth. We got a new wick low. Ended up not moving a whole lot on the day, but the wick low was lower, bounced right back into the same zone that we finished yesterday. If this is a wick rejection and we start to see a reversal, that could swing us much higher from current levels. Similarly here on 50-day average, touched that 52.81 level, just like we thought that it was going to. But then we got a wick from that level, and you can see the last time we touched it, we got to push all the way back into the 83 area. And if we push back into that zone, that could be a couple more weeks of potential upside and higher highs to come if that does come to fruition. So this could be a bit of a bottom. We'll see how it plays in tomorrow's session. Moving over to the 2-year and the 10-year yield, you can see the 2-year basically doji, didn't do a whole lot today, down slightly. 10-year on the other hand broke above the level, 4.55. Closed well above it at 4.58. Above that, you have 5%. So we're seeing a little bit more movement back to normalized conditions. I've been saying this for a while. We saw a little bit of choppiness here, and now we're headed back in that same direction. 10-year didn't quite keep up on the CPI data, but now we're accelerating a little bit more while the 10-year is starting to cool a little bit. If this continues to push into that 5% zone, I just can't imagine that equities are going to be able to keep up this rally. But right now, it is happening. We saw yields go higher and stocks go higher on the same day. Moving over to the dollar did wick a high. You can see we hit the level finally. So we've been talking about it, 505.50. We finally touched that level here today. Got a little bit of a doji, but still a bullish doji. You can see it's still holding at the 21 EMA. If it rejects from here, could push right back to 104, certainly possible. But this is a new high, and it does seem like we're set to go higher. The trend line's up at 106.3, and that would be your next price target if we can get above 105.50 and hold. Moving over to bonds, you can see these continue to fall here, which is interesting. So J&K falling even more. Next level there is still at 93, held below the level, continued lower, new wick low. Seems like it's set to move lower to that 144 EMA down at 92.83. Not super great to see J&K going lower while equities are going higher. A little bit of divergence there. And then looking at TLT, more selling here as we expected. 98.16 is still the price target. Let's go ahead and extend out this trend line. Pretty much right there, a little bit below it, 88.90. So still looking in that zone for some potential support. Volume over these last two candles has been massive, and those are selling candles. Moving over to the VIX, we did get another wick high. What a massive move too. The high of day was at 17.6, so we did get a very high move. Let's go ahead and extend that one out. Didn't quite hit this next trend line and didn't quite hit that 1850 level, but we're still holding a higher low. You can see we're above the SMA momentum. Hanging in there, but not great. If it's going to hold, it needs to hold 14.7. Again, I don't really want the VIX to hold. I am bullish on markets right now, but if it's going to hold, you need to watch this zone, and then it could spike up to that 1850. But if this breaks here tomorrow, we could see bullishness into the end of the month. Moving over to my accounts, you can see I did quite well on the day. Just over $800. I think it was a little bit more than that. I think it was closer to 900 and some change. And you can see my positions. I had puts on throughout the session, and then I took those off right at the end of the day. Now I have a covered call on for tomorrow. You can see I bought shares at 444. So as soon as it broke that level, I went ahead and put on a covered call for tomorrow. Sold it for $2 credit. So max profit on that position is 446. So I still have a little bit more room, about 70 cents per contract of upside potential. And then this $1.40 would come in as well. So there would be a little bit more potential on that position for tomorrow's session. I rolled out to all the way to Tuesday, it looks like here, out to 441. Trying to hold on to these credits similar like I did on the last position. I'll just be patient here. Got plenty of time to roll this up and out as I need to. And if markets tank, I have lots of protection. $5 protection down at 441. So I'll roll it up and out on a daily basis. If it starts to get super aggressive, then I can roll up for a debit. I try not to do that. And then you can see here on the IWM, I did end up rolling out to Monday for 202. That might have been a little bit aggressive as well. We'll see how that one plays out tomorrow. You can see I do have a little bit of a profit there, $1.89, so that puts my max profit for the Monday session up at 103.89, and it is up a little bit after hours, so maybe it'll do okay. I had to pay a little bit of a debit for that, but not too much to roll out $1. So right now, everything a little bit more bullish today than it was yesterday. Let me know down in the comments section what you think of the CPI and PPI data coming in on the opposite sides of the spectrum. PPI coming in quite soft and allowing markets to rally here today. Will it continue, or is this just a lower high? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.